All right, so here's a quick tutorial on how to use throwing bag and a cambium saver to do a little bit of rope work and less damage to the tree. So first off, this is just a little sandbag. You can buy these on Amazon with the line and everything for fairly cheap, but they've got, I think this one's like an 8 ounce, something like that. Anyways, it does have a releasable attachment right here. So this is just a little mule hitch, slippery overhand, whatever you want to call it. It's important that that's something that's strong but releasable because we regularly take this off while we're setting up our rigging. So I'll show you that real quick, but if you want to look it up online, you're just coming around, making that extra twist and coming in from behind and pulling, but don't pull all the way through, so you still have a tail over here. So you've got that. Now that's slippery, and we're just going to slip it right up against the ring itself. But now this is a quite secure knot, and yet it can still be just pulled from there and undone. So there's that. And then the cambium saver itself, mine is, obviously I kind of homemade did this to the length I wanted, but you can get pre-sewn lengths and such. The main thing is it needs to have 2 different size rings. The smaller ring just needs to be big enough for your rope to fit through it. The larger ring, on the other hand, needs to be large enough for the rope and a knot to fit through it. So what do I mean by that? Here's my rope. I've got a 9mm rope. I like a 9mm Kern Mansell for a lot of this kind of stuff. It's got UIAA ratings and everything is most important, whether it's 7mm, 12mm, doesn't matter. So little ring fits through no problem. Big ring fits through no problem. But then if I tie my double overhand stopper knot on this, which is what we're going to be using here in a second, so just that, the gold ring here, the larger one, that knot slips through. The red ring here, the smaller one, won't fit. So it'll force it to drag that with it. So there's the basics for that. Now let's actually get it set up in the tree. So the first thing I need to do is just get this rope out of the way. We'll get to that in a minute. Grab my stack here, get it somewhere where it's going to play out nicely from right underneath where I'm throwing. I'm going to feed this through the larger hole, okay, the larger ring, the gold one, and then set that down. Again, I want to keep this where it's going to allow it to feed nicely. So if I think I'm in a spot where it's going to cause it to tangle, then after I've got that ring on, I should pull out enough line to get it up over the branch. I think I've got a pretty good feed where it's at right now. So I'm going to leave it stuffed in the bag and just let it come through that gold lining as it comes out. Now for throwing technique, I'm going to take and tuck just a little bit of that through here and pull it on out. And that gives me, so all I got to do is kind of put my finger on that. I'm not actually pinching it, put my finger on that. And then when I pinch onto the line here, I've got just a little bit more pendulum swing, as well as when I initially throw it, there's a few feet right here that's going to feed out without any resistance, no friction from the ground or anything like that. So let's go ahead and actually do that. And then as far as throwing technique, so I've got that out. If I want to throw it really far, I can make that longer. I can make that a little shorter, whatever. But as far as throwing technique, I'm going to be kind of swinging it. I want to stand pretty close to right underneath of where I'm actually launching it to. This can be adjusted for certain situations, but it's easier just to kind of put my whole body into it by doing a shallow squat, and then my whole body goes up as I launch that, and I can watch this sucker just soar right up there. So let's see here. Let me get underneath of it. We'll give it a little launch over this branch, and there it is. So we got that. Got a little knot forming there. There we go. We got that. And it goes, see if I can show you guys without dropping it. There we go. And it goes up over that little branch. So this is a demonstration branch. Even though I think that branch would hold my weight, I would probably choose a bigger one if I'm actually doing rigging. So anyways, I've got both sides down to me. Now this is important. The larger ring it has the line going through it, and then the line goes over the branch and back down to me. I want to make sure that the smaller ring then gets fed onto this side. So it's on the opposite side of the branch of the large ring. Hope that makes sense. So anyways, the bag doesn't just fit through this time, so this is where I do need to be able to untie it. I feed this through and then retie this on. So hopefully, I know the camera's not catching everything in one angle here. Me being a novice videographer, don't have a whole lot of good camera angles and stuff set up. But anyways, hopefully you can see here. Let me pull this just a little bit and we'll kind of show the layout. So by doing what I've done, I now have created the rope, the line here, goes through the large ring, up over the branch, through the small ring, and to the weight bag. So I've got a complete circle here from one hand to the other. I mean, got the smiley face of the yellow line down here and then this little line above. I've got a complete loop. And now I can just pull from my stack end and watch as this goes up over that branch. Now here's the cool thing. As this goes over that branch, oh, got a little twist in it here, there we go. As this goes over that branch, it's not going to be able to pull all the way to the ground because both those rings just locked up together. So I can pull on this as hard as I want, and all I'm going to end up doing is eventually breaking this. I'm not going to bring that back down to me. But that little weight bag is hanging off those two little rings together. So if I start letting loose, that little weight is going to come back down to me. Here, this side of the tree. There we go. Whee! So now, hopefully you can kind of see what I've got going on. Now, the Cambium saver strap is over the tree and both those rings are together, and this is feeding through both those rings. All right, so we're 90% of the way there. Let's drop this camera angle back down and show how we're going to set the rope on it. So now we're done with the weight bag. Don't need that anymore. Let's take that off, but I do need to make sure I'm still using this side of the line. I'm just going to grab my rope and I'm going to secure this together. Now, I've got to be careful not to tie a big old knot that won't fit through those rings. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to tie, see how I keep my finger trapped in there and I make a couple of wraps over it. I'm going to tie that same double overhand we talked about earlier, except it's going to encompass the rope. So now I've kind of latched that rope onto it. Now I like to leave things slippery when I'm just doing rigging that I'm not actually putting my body weight on. And this is just getting things set up. So I've got the tail sticking out. I could pull that the rest of the way through, but by leaving that out, it means that I can just pull on that to untie it. Anyways, now, this here, if I tried to pull that through the rings, that would get stuck. So now I want to align these together. So I'm just going to use some half hitches here to align these. So I generally don't like to just use one half hitch, though I've seen people do that. I like 3, if not 4. But I get that last one all the way up, like right to the very tip of that. So you can see that's what's actually the friction holding it. But then I've got all of that kind of in line. Okay. So now I can come to this follows up to the other side of the branch. It's my stacked end of this line. And I can just start pulling. And that rope is just going to feed right off the stack, up through those rings, and right back down to me here. So I've got that. Now I can undo this line. I can re-stack this into the bag. We're done with this line for the rest of the day. Whatever rigging I want to do, I now have my rope that comes from the stack, goes up through those rings, back down to me. So I can slide this rope all I want. You know, if I've got it rigged up where each time I go up, I'm pulling it a little bit. Weighted slides over a tree branch are going to rope saw into that branch. But through those metal rings, not a big deal. So that makes it real nice, versatile. If I'm regularly using the same tree, this is super important. If I'm trying to make minimal damage to the tree, Even if it's only a one-time use sort of thing, this is definitely going to help. Now, that being said, I could cut out a lot of steps just by throwing the rope over a tree branch if I was, in a hurry. It's a one-time thing. It's not a big deal. The little tiny bit of rope sawing I'm going to do isn't going to hurt it. But if I'm regularly using a spot or putting a lot of weight onto it and a lot of sawing action, I want that cambium saver. So anyways, I've got the cambium saver on. I do my thing, whether it's, some chainsaw work or some saddle hunting or whatever. And then when I want to get this back, the side that had been pulled through, that I had the actual weight bag attached to, or the feeder line attached to, that's the side that gets a double overhand. Okay, so my kind of safety knot, a lot of times we call it stopper knot, but that double overhand. Remember, this will fit through the gold ring, but not the red ring. If we keep doing things in the order that I just showed, this knot is on the gold ring side right now. So if I start pulling from the other side, we're just going to let the knot go, let it go up. It's going to go through the gold ring, but not through the red ring, which means if I give it a yank, it's going to pull all of that strap down with it. And now, nothing is left in the tree. I have everything back and I can just repack it up, head on my way.